Final update. On my wedding day, my mom texted, "Don't expect anyone to show." Then I saw the group photo, all of them on a private beach in Maui. The caption read, "Finally together." I just sent one text, perfect timing. What they underestimated, what they always underestimated, was that while they were flying first class and golfing with clients they couldn't name, I was the one keeping everything upright. I had all the documentation, expense records, internal emails, proxy notes, even audio from board calls. I had time-stamped proof of every task they delegated to me because they didn't want to deal with it. And I wasn't going to shout or threaten. That wasn't necessary. Collapse doesn't always come from fire. Sometimes it's the water leaking behind the walls. I made one call to our logistics partner, a guy named Dennis I'd worked with for years. We'd had beers together. I told him off the record that he might want to hold off on fulfilling the next few bulk shipments. That things were unstable. He didn't ask questions. Just said, "Got it." Then came the real estate play. They forgot I still had partial signature rights on the commercial lease for our headquarters. I didn't even need to threaten. I just notified the building owner that I would no longer personally guarantee rent coverage and that there was potential financial turbulence incoming. Within 72 hours, the management company served them with a notice, pay 3 months in advance, or prepare to vacate. I didn't need to lift another finger. They weren't liquid enough to cover that kind of demand. Quietly, the walls started closing in. Then came the international partner. He only stayed in because of my involvement. The moment I sold my last shares in the satellite entity, he pulled his investment. It wasn't personal. He even sent me a short note saying, "Saw the writing on the wall. You did the right thing." My cousin messaged me that night. First time I'd heard from him since the wedding. He said, "Whatever point you're trying to prove, it's made. You've burned everything down." He was wrong. I hadn't burned anything. I just stopped watering their garden. But then something happened I didn't expect. I got an email from a woman who worked in HR at a mid-sized accounting firm. Said she couldn't say much officially, but she thought I'd want to see something that came across her desk. We met at a diner the next morning. She slid a folded paper across the table, a printed screenshot from their onboarding system. My sister had applied for a financial consultant position. Under her resume, she'd listed herself as managing director of our company for the last 4 years. She'd even added bullet points, client strategy, revenue growth, operational oversight, total fiction. She'd also used my name and personal number as her professional reference. I stared at the page for a while. Then I looked up and asked the woman, "Did she actually interview?" She nodded. She was confident. A little too confident. I smiled. "Yeah, that tracks." I sent my sister one message as I left the diner, "Don't ever use my name again." No threats, no drama, just that. She didn't reply. But within an hour, her LinkedIn profile vanished. Her account went private. Mutual contacts stopped tagging her in anything. The funny part was, I wasn't even angry. I wasn't surprised. I think I just felt done for the first time in my life. I wasn't checking behind me. I wasn't cleaning up their mistakes. I wasn't softening the blow. I was just walking forward. And whatever was behind me could fall as far as gravity wanted to take it. By the time spring rolled in, the family business had quietly folded. No bankruptcy filing, no scandal in the papers, just closed doors and disconnected phones. The website came down one day without fanfare. A few of their old clients probably wondered what happened. Most didn't. They moved on. That's how business works. People think legacies last forever, but they don't. They last as long as someone's willing to keep holding them up. And I let go. Natalie and I had moved into a new place by then. Nothing extravagant, just bigger windows, more light, a kitchen she loved. She started taking on more creative work, and I found myself spending less time in old spreadsheets and more time doing things I never used to make room for. Dinners with friends, long walks, silence. The lawsuit never went anywhere. Lena shut it down so fast I barely had time to read their reply. They tried to stall, tried to delay discovery, but the second they realized I wasn't bluffing and that I had everything documented, they withdrew quietly. No apology, just silence. That was fine. They weren't good at apologies anyway. One last ripple came from my father. He sent a letter, actual pen and paper, mailed to my office. No return address, no date, just a rambling mix of excuses, nostalgia, and some warped version of our past. He wrote about the early days when we'd drive out to distribution centers in the middle of nowhere. How we built something out of nothing. He said he missed those days. Said maybe we could go back to them. Then he ended with a line that told me everything I needed to know. I still believe we were right to protect the family from outsiders. Outsiders. Even after everything fell apart, he still saw my wife, the one person who stood beside me, as a threat, as someone who didn't belong. I folded the letter once, dropped it into the trash, and that was the last time I ever acknowledged him. That summer, Natalie and I took a road trip. No destination, just highways, music, gas station coffee, and nowhere to be. Somewhere in Colorado, we stopped at a little cabin on a lake. No cell service, no emails, no expectations. On the last night, we were sitting on the dock, feet in the water, and she asked, "Do you think you'll ever talk to them again?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, I think they already said goodbye. They just didn't realize it. Because the truth is, the day they chose that beach over my wedding, they made the cleanest break they ever could have. They handed me freedom in the ugliest wrapping possible. I unwrapped it. I used it. And I didn't look back. It's been almost a year since I walked away. No contact, no updates, no drama, just distance. For a while, I thought that would be the end of it, a clean break. Me, Natalie. A quiet life built from the ashes of whatever that family used to be. I didn't realize something was still out there. Something quietly circling back. It started with an email, not from any of them. It was from a man named Jeremy Heller. I didn't recognize the name at first, but when I opened the message, everything stopped. Jeremy was an associate at a firm in Boston handling a private trust connected to my grandfather's estate. My grandfather, the only person from my dad's side who ever treated me like I mattered. He died 10 years ago. I thought everything he had went directly to my parents. Turns out it didn't. Jeremy wrote that certain assets had been held in a secondary trust, frozen until my 35th birthday. They were part of a contingency plan my grandfather put into place after a falling out with my father. I had no idea any of this existed. He never talked about it. But according to the documents Jeremy attached, he didn't trust what the family had become. So he created a clause: if by a certain date I was no longer actively involved in the family business and had severed financial ties, the full trust would default to me. And here I was, clean, detached, and just barely 35. I forwarded the files to Lena, and within a week, everything was confirmed. It wasn't just money. There were properties, stocks, a storage facility full of artwork I didn't even know we owned. I stood in the middle of that warehouse one afternoon, staring at a canvas worth more than my first apartment, and realized how little I knew about my own history. What my grandfather was trying to protect me from, what he saw coming before I did. Natalie was speechless when I told her. She cried a little, not because of the money, she never cared about that, but because for the first time it felt like someone from that bloodline had done something for us, not against us. The trust came with a letter, typed simple, signed with my grandfather's initials: if they ever choose themselves over you, walk away and don't turn back. I'll be waiting on the other side. I didn't know how much I needed to hear that until I read it. Now we're planning something different. Not revenge, not a legacy, just a future. One built not from their rules or expectations, but from the things they never understood: quiet loyalty, real love, and the power of walking away.